Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today I'm comparing OMSI 2 and CTS 2026, and we're taking a close look at how both games behave on the road. The weight, the handling, the movement, all the things that make a bus actually feel like a bus. And this time, we're also looking at the sound, because audio is a huge part of immersion. OMSI 2 is old, but it's still known for having some of the most realistic bus behavior ever made. CTS 2026 is modern, clean, and polished, but the question is whether it can match the depth and realism OMSI has built over more than a decade. So today we're putting both side by side, and in many areas, OMSI still feels more convincing. Let's start with how the bus moves. In OMSI, the moment you touch the accelerator, you feel the bus slowly push itself forward. It's heavy, it's slow, and it reacts exactly like a real 12-ton vehicle. You can feel the mass shifting, you can hear the engine working, and the bus doesn't give you anything for free. CTS 2026 reacts faster and feels lighter. It's smoother and more responsive, but it doesn't give you that same sense of weight behind every movement. Steering shows the same difference. OMSI has that slightly delayed steering response. You turn the wheel, and the bus follows with body roll and suspension movement. It feels like a big machine. CTS 2026 is sharper and more direct. It's easier to control, but doesn't feel as heavy or as physical. OMSI gives you the sensation of steering a real bus. CTS feels more like steering a modern game bus. Braking is another area where OMSI stands out. When you brake hard in OMSI, the bus dives forward, the suspension reacts, and the whole vehicle feels like it's fighting momentum. It's noisy, it's rough, but it's real. CTS 2026 braking is cleaner and more controlled. It's stable and comfortable, but it doesn't give you that same sense of mass pushing forward. Suspension and road feel are some of OMSI's strongest points. Every bump, every curb, every dip in the road, you feel it. The bus shakes, rattles, and reacts to the environment. It's messy, but it's authentic. CTS 2026, however, also does a surprisingly good job here. The suspension reacts smoothly and consistently, and the bus feels stable without becoming unrealistic. You still notice weight shifts, you still feel bumps, and the vehicle behaves in a believable way. It's not as rough or dramatic as OMSI, but it's definitely realistic, just with a more modern, controlled style. On hills, OMSI behaves exactly like you expect from a heavy diesel bus. If the bus is loaded or heavy, you feel it. The engine strains, the acceleration drops, and the bus climbs slowly. CTS2026 handles hills more easily. The engine doesn't feel stressed, and the bus climbs without much effort. It's comfortable, but not as realistic. Grip and traction also show a clear difference. In OMSI, if you take a corner too fast, you feel the bus lean. You feel the tires losing traction. You feel the weight shifting. CTS 2026 corners more like a modern city bus. Stable, predictable, safe. It's realistic in its own way, but it doesn't punish you as much, and it doesn't feel as dynamic. Collision behavior is another area where OMSI feels heavier. Impacts feel dramatic and physical. CTS 2026 has cleaner collisions, but they feel lighter and less impactful. OMSI's physics make every mistake feel bigger. By the way, since you're already watching, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot, and you won't miss the next comparison or gameplay video. Now, let's talk about sound, because this is where the difference becomes even more obvious. OMSI's audio is raw. You hear the gearbox, the engine strain, the suspension creaking, the doors slamming, the rattling panels. It's chaotic, but it's real. Especially with good sound mods, OMSI can feel incredibly immersive. CTS 2026 has cleaner audio. The engine loops are smooth, the doors sound modern, and everything is polished. It's realistic, but it doesn't have that gritty, heavy bus atmosphere. OMSI sounds like a bus that's been driving for years. CTS sounds like a bus fresh out of the factory. When you look at the overall driving feel, OMSI still delivers something unique. Everything has weight. Everything has delay. Everything has personality. CTS 2026 feels modern, smooth, and polished. It's easier to drive, more accessible, and more stable, but it doesn't give you that same "I'm driving a 12-ton bus" sensation. So in the end, both games have their strengths, but OMSI 2 still feels more realistic in most areas. The physics, the sound, the suspension, the braking, the weight, it all comes together in a way that makes OMSI feel like a real bus simulator. CTS 2026 is modern and improving fast, but it doesn't reach the same depth yet. The real question is what you prefer, raw realism or modern comfort. Let me know in the comments. I'm curious what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.